Welcome to the Vibrant Couple. I have inviting my friend Monique again for the 19th time. Monique, can you believe it is our 19th video together in this relationship tool series? And we're going to talk about requests versus demands. So we'll talk about the difference, about the benefits of making requests versus demands. We'll talk about how to view the difference. And by the way, this is a two-part video series. We are doing this somehow counterintuitive of first separating the wheat from the chaff. We want to know what is a request, and then in next video we'll talk about how to make requests. We'll jump into role plays and we'll do our typical Q&A. So Monique, why differentiate request versus demands?
It's a great question. So, a demand is something where we impose and we do power over, where a request is something we do power with, we invite. And when we demand, we create resentment and defensiveness, and we really fracture trust. When we invite, we foster connection and stability, and things just get better between us.
So is that
And
an either or?
well, we describe it kind of like an either or in this video, but it really is a continuum. So I can make clean requests by knowing what I want and attuning to that. And then I can make them well by attuning to when to talk to you and why and how. And that's attuning to the relationship and you. And I can also do something on a scale where sometimes it's a little clean, sometimes it's a little messy. Maybe I'll be a little resentful, but I'm not going to punish you all the way. So we're going to invite people, including in the Q&A, to really notice the continuum of the difference of the two.
But I love when you punish me.
Next video.
Just kidding, just kidding. So, on that note, let's take our first commercial break. I'm pretty sure some of you are very committed to improving your relationship. So I would love to invite you to explore some of the videos in 3 series in the Vibrant Couple. Although most of us long to be in happy, easy, juicy relationships, most of us have learned relationships the negative way about what we don't want, what is painful, what we should get rid of if we want to be happy. So Monique and I did 2 videos on appreciation. The second being very important because it is about catching our partner in the act of doing something selflessly good for us or for our relationship. And because of the negative conditioning, too much of what we do is not in service of our partnership. Monique and I bring 2 tools on apologies and forgiveness. Monique, I heard you talk about increasing trust, increasing the attunement to each other in the relationship, and diminishing punishing each other. Any other benefits?
Yes, I suppose the biggest one is really understanding the impact or the cost of punishment. And this is true in all relationships. Another benefit is you get better at setting up the please do and please don't requests and boundaries so that all of your relationships thrive. And it really will reduce your partner's defensiveness and it really will increase trust. People start to see that we're here for each other to solve this problem together. It's really quite a powerful thing to understand the difference. So today we're going to look at how do we make a request. Number 1 is you attune. You attune to yourself. If you're feeling righteous or angry, stop. Do not proceed. You're only going to be making a demand from that. If you're feeling curious and open and affectionate, go. You can make a request from that, a tuning in. Then you tune into your partner. Is now a good time? And how are they doing? What's a good way to approach them? You tune into the relationship, not just in this moment, but overall. How's the relationship doing? If things are still feeling good, you get to proceed to 2, which is identify the win-winness. What requests might you make that would be a win for them too? Step 3 is make your request. We're going to make a whole video on that for you. Step 4 is find the ways to meet both your needs. This is an ongoing conversation, and as long as you're not starting to feel like withholding affection or giving them a silent treatment, you're not rolling your eyes, those are all demands, those are all consequences. As long as you're staying open and curious, you are in that great place of finding the win-win. And then 5, debrief. See how it's going. Did that feel like a request? Did you feel that there was room to say no and there would still be connection and curiosity? Step 6 is appreciate. You are creating a culture where you are a conscious couple, making requests, building trust, finding the win-win.
So, Monique, let's role play. Listeners, Monique and I are not a couple in real life, which makes it a lot easier to role play. And after every role play, we are going to spend some time debriefing, looking at what went well and what went wrong. In this first example, we are going to have an unclean request in which there is quite a bit of blaming each other. You ready, Monique?
Let's do it.
I'm disappointed that we are not spending time together right now. So because of that, I'm going to see my friends.
Well, yeah, that's fine with me because it's not like time with you is great anyway.
When one starts with blaming, and it does not matter which one, blaming or withholding affection or whatever it is, that basically is a negative consequence. It is very difficult to not go there. So, second role play, we are going to have the first one of us, I don't know yet which one will go, but the first one of us will start blaming the other, punishing the other, and the other is going to find ways to counteract that. Hey, darling, you remember I'm going to have a beer with Frank tonight.
You going out with your friends again?
So, my love, I have the impression that it's not landing well on you, and that somehow there is a little bit of blame in your comment.
Yeah, I just feel like you're just making a statement of what's happening. I don't feel like my needs are being considered.
So, I'm going to go out with Frank because I have scheduled it, and I will make sure that he and I catch up, and then I'll be back in an hour and a half. And how about you and I spend some time together in the jacuzzi tonight?
Okay, and I have a request. My request is that in the future, when you're planning to get together with Frank, you let me know so that I can plan something fulfilling for me the same evening.
So I'm hearing your request, and I want to appreciate very much because it's feels very different than the first, sideways request when we just started this conversation. So I like it when you and I learn to clean up our request. Thank you.
Thank you. So in that role play, Valdo announced he was going to go out with his friend Frank, and so an announcement like that, where there's not room for me to interact, is actually a demand. And so then chances are I'm kind of constricted in thinking, well, that's not great. So on that spectrum of request versus demand, I'm probably feeling a little resentful, maybe not revengeful, but when I made my request, I probably was on that continuum of not a clean request. So then when I made the request of him asking me to be part of the conversation and create the win-win, that was great. And he offered the jacuzzi as a connector, which probably brings us even further along that continuum into the request place of connection and curiosity.
Role play number 3, we're going to use an example that Monique and I used several times in our past videos, in which I work at home. I left my dishes from lunch in the sink. Monique come back from work. She is upset about it and makes a request.
Although I noticed that I really would love for you to do the dishes right now so that I can easily prepare our dinner this evening.
Monique, I really appreciate the cleanliness of your request. Sounds like we've gone a long way, and my answer is no.
Okay, so I'm going to tune to myself, and I notice that there's a little frustration. So whoa, we're working on a conscious couplehood. This is a great opportunity for me to practice. I notice my curiosity go up. So, Valdo, what's competing for a yes to me? What would you rather be doing?
And so there is a piece in me in which I don't feel honored in your requests because for me to have to do that right now is not aligned with my movement, with my autonomy, nor is it with my strengths. And so I know I sent you a note that was a little too abrupt. I want to apologize for that. What I suggest is that you and I play our strengths. You are the one that keeps things clean and tidy, on a minute by minute. And I'm the one who does the deep overall cleaning, every 3 months. And we are overdue on that. I think last time was 4 months. And so, how about you do what you do best right now and you do the dishes? I know there'll be some pain there, but this weekend, how about you and I together? We do our quarterly deep cleaning of the house. How does it feel to you?
I think that's really close. I'm on board for the deep cleaning. For now, I also want to get dinner made. So I'm wondering if, like, I actually do like doing dishes. How about while I'm doing your lunch dishes, you start chopping and prepping for the dinner, and we kind of do this as a team effort tonight.
I'm liking it because I was about to suggest that we clear a cupboard and that we call it Valdo's not doing lunch right now. So it's out of your way.
All right. Yeah, that's another example of being this win-win couple that we're becoming. It's just like I can just take these dishes without resentment and just put them in a spot in the cupboard, and you just know you'll do them later. Yeah, there's a
Or,
lot of wins, aren't there?
or even better, I put them in that cupboard.
Sounds like we have some requests that have some agreements. Let's do it. In that last role play, Valdo and I modeled being really good at step one, the attuning to when we were constricting, attuning to each other, and coming into that creative, connecting space where we found each other's needs and explored great strategies.
Role play number 4, same protagonist, same location, same dishes in the sink.
So, Valdo, I'm noticing that it's the third night this week I've come home and your dishes are here. And I know we've done a great job making requests and finding win-wins. But since this behavior isn't changing, I'd like to set a boundary from a place of not punishing. So I would like to restate my request that the dishes are either washed or set aside by the time I come home to make dinner. And the boundary I would like to set from a place of supporting our relationship is if the dishes aren't washed or set aside, that either we would just do some microwave dinners that we have ready to go, or that I would then order takeout and have a night from doing the dishes.
Monique, I want to celebrate that your request was very clean, even in the agitated state I know you're in, where you're upset, does he love me or not, all these questions. So I really want to celebrate how clean your question is. Um, if it was just me, I would say no. Um, but this is the place where I want to be attuned to our relationship. And it really feels important that I honor your request just for the sake of relationship without, just putting my needs aside. Actually, my needs will be met by meeting the needs of our relationship.
Thank you. That feels really honoring both for me as your partner and for us as our relationships. I think there's some real growth here. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and I'm so glad you stated your boundary because, you know, um, if you didn't very quickly, it would you would blow up and go into making a demand again, which basically would, set us back quite a bit in the growth that we've had as a couple.
Yes, I agree. No more of those loops.
So this is the perfect introduction to our second commercial break. Emotional intelligence is key to relationship happiness, and understanding needs is key to emotional intelligence. As humans, we are making meaning machines. We tend to make stories of what we see our partner going through. So Monique and I, to counteract that tendency and helping you become a more conscious couple, made a video on owning one's projections so that when we speak from a place of me. I'm seeing that, I'm interpreting this about you, or I'm misinterpreting this about you. And as a result, be able to much better connect with our partner's needs. Last video I'm recommending in this commercial break is on harsh starts. Basically, when you or your partner starts a conversation with a highly accusatory tone. You can imagine that this is the equivalent of demand versus learning to make clean requests. This affects a lot of couples, and I want to, of course, invite you to watch it, but I also want to stress the urgency to look at that. Dr. John Gottman states that he can predict within 15 minutes which couples will get divorced within 5 years at a 90+% accuracy just by observing if or not they have harsh starts. And now our Q&A. The first question is, how do I determine whether it's a request or a demand?
This is where attunement is really important. Ask yourself, am I open and curious? Or do I really feel like I might want to withhold my affection, give them the silent treatment, or otherwise blame or punish them? A great guiding question can be, what do I want them to do and what do I want their reason to be? Because we're really trying to stress here, there's a reason that's for each other, for our relationship. That's the reason we want to be in service to, not because they feel like they have to. This viewer says, my partner says that they feel like there really isn't a choice to say no. Does that mean that I'm making a demand?
In most cases, the answer is yes, because a sign of a request is that you are free to act on your own autonomy. However, due to your partner's conditioning, let's pretend they grew up in a house where there was only blame after blame after blame and punishment. Then, due to their own conditioning, they may not be able to recognize that you are making a clean request. I'm embarrassed to say, but I punish my partner quite a bit. What shall I do?
There's probably a lot of built up resentment. It could have started as early as your childhood, or it could be more contained within this relationship. It's probably both. This is probably a relationship that could use some feeding, some play, some connection before you look at the resentments and do that work of forgiving in conversations.
You know, I like it, Monique, because a lot of my work with couples is bringing connection and playfulness at the time they want neither.
Yes, it's really great to feed it before you start to mine through all of that pain.
Next question is a perfect follow-up. How do I learn to stay curious so I learn to make requests versus demands?
It's a great question. Remember that anytime somebody's saying no to one thing, they're saying yes to another. So
Hold
you
on,
want to
hold
be
on, hold on, hold on for a second.
okay.
Please say more about saying yes to something else, because most people have no idea that whatever they're happening, they say yes, even when it's painful and not what parts of them want. So please say more about that.
Absolutely. So, say you're somebody who's trying to get out the door from work so you can come home. The request is come home by 6. But what you're saying yes to is this conversation, that task, this conversation. So, what looks like a no to the request of coming home are a bunch of yeses to things you kind of really actually would rather say no to. So, in looking at this, we want to find out what's being said yes to and what's being said no to. This is a great way to foster curiosity.
Monique, next question is also very uncanny. How can we learn more about competing needs?
That's a great question, too. So, competing needs are part of a foundational exploration in nonviolent communication. And so, if you want to learn about requests or needs or competing needs, our favorite mindful nonviolent communication book is by Oren J. Sofer, and his book is titled Say What You Mean.
Excellent read.
This viewer has clearly watched a lot of your videos. They ask, how does polarity fit into requests and demands?
Well, whoever asked that question, I feel very honored that you are latching on to polarity, because I believe that's an important part of creating a happy couple. Um, In our case, it is easiest, in my view, to depolarize that question because this is human to human. Whatever, sexual preference you would have, it is two people having needs, trying to meet them at a time when they're often competing and there is often, built up resentment that we have. So, if you have done a lot of work on polarity, then you somehow have a good idea of what to do. If you haven't, but you have a very strong sense, but I'm a man, there is something else, or but I'm a woman and there is something else, I think the best is that you reach out to me. I'll put my email down below in the description, and then we'll have a live conversation about it. Commercial break number 3. I invite you to watch 2 videos I made recently. The first one on what a conscious couple is, and the second on curiosity, one of the key ingredients in couple happiness. If you learn better in real time through interactions with other human beings and through asking questions, our ateliers might be a good resource for your learning. Our next atelier is on the art of making requests. If this video inspired you to liberate more love in relationships, please hit the like button below and subscribe so you can be notified when I publish new juicy content. And please share with all you believe would benefit. I look forward to seeing you very soon.